Douglas Mwonzora got time to speak about the amendments which have been tabled in the cabinet and have been approved, and now they go straight to Parliament. So we need to take a look on what Dagi said.
We need to have a few facts to get a few facts right. The first one is whether there is going to be a bill, a constitutional bill, amendment bill. And if that bill is there, what does it say? Now, I'm saying this because the Minister of Justice, in one of the interviews, implied that they could change the constitution using Parliament, the way they did in the Malaba case. Now, that is very wrong. You cannot amend the constitution without going to referendum. This is because if you go to the constitution, the areas that talk about term limits are two areas. The first one is section 90 to section 95. Section 90 says the president must preserve the constitution. Section 91 says no one must serve more than 2 terms. And section 95 says a term shall be 5 years, co-terminus with the term of parliament, meaning they have to go together. The constitution doesn't end there. So Ministers Yambi and Kambane are saying, if we change in 95 to say a term is now 7 years, President Mnangagwa would still have served only 2 terms, one for 5 years and one for 7 years, to make them 2. That's their reasoning. But their reasoning would be sensible if the constitution ended there. But the constitution doesn't end there. In section 328 of the constitution, we start by defining what a term limit clause is. And we say a term limit clause is a clause that lengthens the period of time that a person is holding office. So if you are changing from 5 years to 7 years, you are lengthening the period of time. And the same section goes on to say, if you are amending the Bill of Rights, you have to go to referendum. It then goes on to say that if you are amending the term limit clause, you amend it as if it was in the Bill of Rights, i.e. via referendum. And it then goes on to say that even if the people vote yes in the referendum, the extension shall not benefit the incumbent. That is section 328 subsection 7. And then it says in that section that if you want to amend me, if you want to amend that section, you amend me as if I am in the Bill of Rights, i.e. via referendum. So in this particular case, and we are anxious to see the bill, there must be provision for 2 referendums. One referendum with a simple referendum question: should we extend the term of president from 5 years to 7 years? Yes, no. Because when you are voting yes or no in the referendum, you are answering a question. You are saying no to something or yes to something. So there should be a referendum question. And the referendum question is, should we extend or not? So if the people vote yes, then there is another headroom. There needs to be another referendum on whether the incumbent, in this case President Mnangagwa, must benefit. So there is the second referendum question: should Emmerson Mnangagwa benefit or not? Yes or no? So there will be 2 referendums, and these 2 referendums cannot be within 6 months of each other in terms of the constitution, to allow a cooling off period. That was our thinking as the drafters. So a lot depends on what the bill is going to say. If it provides for that, then we will wait to wage our fight within the electorate. The electorate have to decide. The people of Zimbabwe have to decide whether they want an extension of term or not.
It will not be late for you to act when they act. How are you going to defend it?
Well, first of all, what is important is we need to know what we are acting against. So we must see the bill. if the bill comes, we need to see it. And when we see the bill, we see whether it accords with the Constitution. Because the Constitution doesn't prevent amendments. It says amendments must be done in a particular way. Now, in the Constitution, we have a concept that we introduced, which is called the sovereignty of the people. It is the right of the people of Zimbabwe to decide whether they give a president an extension or not, and whether they particularly give this president an extension. It's up to the people of Zimbabwe. We will be at war in the figurative sense with the government or with whoever if the sovereignty of the people, the right of the people to decide is compromised. We will not accept that. But if they say we are asking for amendments, can the people of Zimbabwe decide? Then the battlefield will be the people of Zimbabwe. And that's all we want, that people of Zimbabwe must decide. But there's one thing that some people within ZANU-PF who are advocating for this have not looked at. For example, what if people vote yes in the first referendum and vote no in the second referendum? What that means is that you have extended the term limit for someone else, for the successor, whoever it is going to be. So, as the MDC, on the facts that we have, we are against the extension of the term of the president. We think the president must serve his 2 terms, and someone else.
Mnangagwa. But what we need to understand and note is Douglas Mwonzora is one of the people who made the current constitution which we have. He was part of COPAC, and together Nana Mangwana, they worked together to make sure that they bring or they produce this constitution. What it means is they have a better understanding of how they were wording the constitution and what they were trying to avoid. So it can be proven when you read other amendments, especially the amendment of the ZDF functions and everything else. It tells a lot that they managed to safeguard certain aspects of Zimbabwean democracy, but this has been disregarded by ZANU-PF at all costs. But also, Professor Maduku at a certain point in time gave his views. Let us take a look.
That we don't want to have a former president who is sitting there after they've completed their terms would simply make Zimbabwe a laughing stock. The kind of amendments that they are talking about, it is not possible to have those amendments without a referendum. There are very few small things that you can amend in the constitution without going to a referendum. But the kind of things you're talking about, if you want to tamper with the term of office of the president or the exercise of presidential powers or the structure of the state, you cannot avoid a referendum. What is disturbing is that this very idea that you want to avoid a referendum means that they know that the proposal is not popular with the people. One would want to have a situation where you go to a referendum whenever you have an issue to do with the constitution. I must make it clear to everyone that when we went to the referendum last time in 2013 and a referendum in 2000, there was no constitutional provision requiring a referendum. But it was quite common sense, and the only politically sensible way of proceeding was to have a referendum, because these are issues to do with the constitution. So we are a country that has gone through 2 referendums, and we should know better that whenever you want to do a fundamental change to the constitution, you have to do a referendum. But let's be clear, with the proposals that they are making, they cannot avoid a referendum. So as NCA, we are totally opposed to it. We will obviously do everything to make sure that that doesn't happen. It is wrong for any political party on its own to want to impose a constitution on the people. That constitution, whatever problems we had with the constitution making process as NCA, but we accept that it then became a product of the people after a referendum. It can then suddenly not go back to a political party. So there's everything wrong with a political party making it public that this is their intended purpose, and that intended purpose has nothing to do with everyone, it has just to do with them, that is wrong in itself. We will actually explore simply shooting down the proposal on the mere basis that the messenger is incorrect. You have heard this issue of saying, don't shoot the messenger. But with constitutional reform, you can even shoot the messenger. You don't want people who create an
So this is what Professor Maduku said when he was responding to this whole issue at a certain point in time. But what you need to note is Douglas Mwonzora quoted the Constitution as it is, and when you look at the definition which he talked about, there is a definition right there, which is very important. If you go to Section 328, which he noted, he talks about this whole thing. There is something which is in quotes, which is a term limit provision in the overall meaning of that is, it means a provision of this constitution which limits the length of time. Length of time. So I will repeat again, length of time. Mnangagwa cannot extend the length of time in office for himself. So that is very important to note. But the biggest question which we have is he doing this for himself, or is doing this for his successors? That is also another issue to know at this point in time, which means we might fight the wrong battle. We might fight to say Mnangagwa must not benefit from this, yet he is making this to make sure that another person benefits as well. So one way or the other, you cannot avoid a referendum. It's either it might be one or they might be two referendums to talk about right here. But for them to say 2030 Mnangagwa, according to the slogan, it's almost impossible if we are to look at this constitution, because it's very, very, very clear about that. You cannot do it without a referendum. So we have gave a definition that the term limit provision, it means provision of this constitution which limits the length of time that a person may hold or occupy a public office. So a term limit is a term limit. It's not about anything else. It's about the length of time. What is the length of time? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. That is the length of time. And then you can see that if they are to amend it from 5 years to 7 years, they are extending the length of time. And that is something which is very important to note and which needs to be dealt with. What it means is they cannot avoid a referendum. If they do avoid the referendum, they will cause something which is going to happen against them. Probably that is the reason why they are also amending the Zimbabwe Defense Forces provision, so that they remove that ability of the ZDF to intervene when the constitution is bastardized. So at this point in time, the ZDF cannot intervene because this just passed a cabinet. It also passed. It's now going to Parliament, and for the next 90 days, I think after the gazetting, it will have to undergo scrutiny, that is public hearing, for the next 90 days. And after that, it will have to go into Parliament for deliberation, for debate, as well as for it to be voted for. So another issue is they will also need two-thirds majority. So if they manage to vote with two-thirds majority, it will then pass. But if they fail to get two-thirds majority, that will be the dead end. Then, if they get the two-thirds majority and then they force this to be ascended by President Mnangagwa without a referendum, the problem is they would have violated the constitution. So the question will be, what will happen? Will the ZDF still be legally mandated to make a move, or that amendment only will be enough if it doesn't need a referendum. So if the ZDF amendment does not need a referendum, what will happen? Will they be able to make a move? Will that not be accepted as a full amendment of the Constitution? So that is another thing which we need to talk about right here. So when you're looking at this entire thing, it's a mess. It's a mess, and this is going to bring disaster, and this is what is going to bring the downfall of ZANU-PF. So for those who believe in change, let us continue to hold on. Let us continue to fight. And what I know is, without any doubt, change will come to the nation of Zimbabwe. Okay, that is very important. And at the referendum, who counts the numbers? Probably Zimbabwe Electoral Commission will be in charge of the referendum. Okay, so we will be waiting to see what happens, and we are running out of time. Let us meet in other episodes as well as other broadcasts. But we just need to acknowledge Mr. Mwonzora for coming up, also for this clear explanation. He's one of the people who participated in the build-up of the Constitution, which means he does have a proper understanding of what it